welcome back to a new day lifestyle vlog. Yes, y'all, I'm back. I know I'm a few days late from when I said I was gonna do this and also upload it, but I'm here, thankful to God that He allowed me another day to wake up and give Him praise first thing this morning. So that's what I wanted to start with. That God is amazing. He's amazing just for everything that He has done, everything that He is doing, and everything that He will do. One of the things that I've realized, especially this year, but even before this, is that, you know, as a human, we have no control. No control. God has all the control. And so letting go and letting God is definitely probably the theme of my year, I would say, because I've had to let go and I've had to let God. One of the things I was just reminded of I was just listening to the pastor out of this church in Dallas, Texas called Friendship West. But one of the things that he stated towards the end of this sermon was, God is good even in grief. And He is. One of the things I shared in part 1 of my health or my traumatic health event was that I had experienced a couple of deaths this year that were very hard for my family. And so I'll get into that this time around in part 2 of my traumatic health event. But I wanted to start off with that, what I just stated, and then also I want to read this. I'm a quote girl, y'all. This quote is pretty long, so, you know, hang with me for a minute, or bear with me for a moment. You were created to do good work that empowers and inspires, liberates and transforms, restores and softens. Yes, work can be hard, as it was meant to be. The verb itself calls us into action, rejecting passivity and demanding sustained effort. It provokes, agitates, and disturbs. But this work, the call for justice, is good work. It defends, the oppressed and frees the captive. It tears down walls and destroys barriers. It changes things. So when you're feeling weary or hopeless or spent, remind yourself that the darkness is being flooded by marvelous light. Yes, this is work, and it is good. By Danielle Coke. I'm reminded of this. I try to remind myself of this. It's actually going to be pinned on my board because I am planning to read that off during my event tonight. I am doing a mental health equals wealth, just a chat. I actually was going to do an actual event, a 2-hour event, but I'm going to push that back to next year and just do an hour Facebook Live in my group to talk about mental health and the fact that this month is suicide prevention, like awareness month, pretty much. So it is, there was a suicide prevention day, which was September the 10th. And then this month is a lot of toolkits being put together by different associations that deal with mental health and suicide. So that is pretty major this month, and so I'll be talking about that a little bit during my Facebook Live. So hopefully, if any of you who follow me on here, you follow me on Facebook and you can be a part of that, or if you happen to see this and you get in contact with me, you can definitely be a part of it. It's free. There will be resources that I know about that I'll be providing, and hopefully other people who chime in, other resources that they know about will be helpful to other people as well who might be going through a depressive episode, going through suicidal, having suicidal thoughts, or even knowing someone who is going through that. I think is so important to, at least give people the resources, right? So that they can have access to that, and even help, where you can. It's not our job to save anyone, because God already did that. He did the hard work, but it is a part of my job and my, I would say, duty, and a part of my obligation as a person who has dealt with several different things over the years. And one of the things and one of the reasons that I know that God has me here is to do a great work, to do good work, to be of service. And so that's what I'm going to, that's my prayer every day. And that's the work that I want to do on a daily. And to just make a difference in a positive way. So I wanted to read that quote. I thought it was awesome. And just tell y'all a little bit about, some things that I have going on. But now we're going to get back into my traumatic health events. So I brought you guys all the way up to March. So March of 2025. Whew, March was a long month. It was 31 days. And it was quite... it changed a lot of it. Actually was when I had to definitely make some hard decisions. Things just went all types of chaotic in March for me. So the beginning of March, I would say March 3rd is when I actually went for, I actually had to call 911, have them come to my place and basically give me a breathing treatment. I literally was on the floor crawling to my door to get to the door so that I can let them in and they could help me as far as like giving me a breathing treatment. I felt horrible. I was coughing profusely. I could not catch my breath. I knew I was getting really, really sick, and it was not a good look. It just wasn't. I felt horrible. I could not do much. That same day is so crazy because that particular weekend I had went to Dallas really to meet my parents, and also I had dropped my brother off as well, but actually he went with me, but he wasn't coming back with me. I drove back by myself, and I was okay coming back. I was coughing a lot, but I was okay, I think. But I went to Dallas, to meet my parents. My dad was there for an event that he was attending, a conference that was held in Dallas. And so I just spent the night there and then returned back to the area I live in. And so when I got back, I literally was just sitting at the computer and I just started coughing and coughing and coughing. And literally, like I said, I just could not catch my breath. And I was just like, I gotta call 911. I just have to. So I did. And they came, they got me. I went to the hospital or the emergency room. And yeah, so I'm sitting there, not sitting there, but laying there. I don't know what I'm talking about, sitting there. But I was laying there, and people always say you don't need to go to the emergency room by yourself, especially as a black female. You do not need to go to. So I would contend and, with all of the, and definitely agree that you do not need to go to the ER by yourself. However, I had no other choice because, yeah, your girl was about to just give out. Like, I was like, what? Yeah, what? Oh, Lord. So, I had no other choice, okay? But the thing about me, though, what I did do even prior to that, is that I have certain people that I have as emergency contacts in my phone. So, they know where I am at all times. If your girl had passed away, they would have known. They would know what hospital I'm at, what emergency room I'm at, okay? I got enough sense to do that. So I did do that well before this happened. So, and so I was like, I'm safe in that aspect. But I couldn't, of course, it's important to have people or at least one person with you in the ER, because that person can advocate for you when you can't speak. They can speak for you. And so, so for sure, I know the benefits of having someone with me, but that just was not the case that day. So I had people with me, but they were miles away. But again, they would know where I was. So at least in that respect, I felt, okay, whatever. I was like, God, whatever it is, let it be. And I knew that if anybody had my back, God got my back always. So I felt, I'm okay. But with all of that being said, I informed these people of what I was allergic to. I was given fluids, and then some nurse was in there. She was asking me questions. I could tell that she was a very cocky nurse. And I'm going to tell you, this is exactly why they say you need an advocate in there, a person, a body to basically speak for you. Because of situations like this. One thing that I got out of this particular nurse is that she was only a year into her profession. Now, I'm not saying just because you have minimal years in your profession that you don't know what you need to know in order to treat me. That's not what I'm saying. However, I do have a problem when a person introduces themselves in a very cocky way, and that was what I got from her. Going forward, I'm just going to skip to what actually ended up happening. So they gave me it was supposed to be something to help with my lung function and all of that so I could breathe, right? Better. Next thing I know, this girl shoots something in my IV, because at that time I had an IV, so they were pushing, meds through my IV and fluids and stuff. So she put something in my IV. Yeah, it took a matter of seconds. I literally felt like I was on fire from the inside out. I felt like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen, there's a show called 911. And in that show, one of the episodes, it was this woman had something, the dentist had given her something, and it connected with something that was already in her mouth, and it caused a like fire to break out literally in her mouth. She burst her mouth, she opened her mouth and it burst out with flames. Okay, so I mean, I'm describing to you all how I felt, like literally like something was just on fire in me, and I was like, oh my God, like I felt so bad, and I was yelling. I was just like, what did you give me? I was like, what did you just give me? And she was just standing there like it was nothing going on, and I'm like, what did you just give me? What did you just give me? And so she's just, again, just standing there, and she's like, no, just give it a minute. No, I don't need to give it a minute. I need you to go and get the doctor, because whatever you gave me, I'm probably allergic to, and I need you to move like it's a fire going on, honey, because this right here, whatever you gave me was totally like something that you should not have given me. And so she finally gets some steps about herself, and somebody else comes in and they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm on fire, like from the inside out. Like, I need y'all to help. Like, somebody needs to get me something to help calm this down, because whatever it is, it's like it's not working. Like, whatever it is, it's working, but it's working in a negative way. Like, I don't know what it's doing to my body. And so next thing I know, the doctor finally comes in, and he's like, calm down, Miss Jones, calm down. Like, I'm gonna get you some Benadryl. We're gonna get you some Benadryl. And I'm like, get it now. Like, don't keep telling me to calm down. Like, somebody needs to put something in my IV. Yeah, I was just like, what is happening? So so finally they ended up giving me the Benadryl, put it in there, and as soon as they gave it to me, y'all, I was like, I felt 100% better. I was like, what in the world was that? Get her away from me. Whoever she is, I don't want her back in this room. The doctor needs to come in here, or some nurse practitioner, but not this registered nurse that y'all claim is a registered nurse. But I don't think this girl don't operate like that. And the other thing is, I'm like, y'all could kill me. Like, I'm coming here to prevent a preventative measure for me not to die. But it seems like somebody wants, I didn't know what was going on. I was just like, it literally, y'all, it had me, I did the reenactment, okay? Because that's really how I was. I was just, yeah. So I thank God that he even put it in me to be able to, like, this is expediency. Like, I need you, this is like important. You need to make sure this never happens again to anyone at all, ever. So anyway, I ended up staying in the hospital for probably another hour after that, because they had given me some stuff, and then they gave me prescriptions. A part of those prescriptions, though, was prednisone. Now, let me tell y'all, if anybody knows about prednisone is a strong steroid, okay? I have been on prednisone before, usually because, I've dealt with sinus infections, upper respiratory infections. Usually, sometimes when it gets really, really bad, they get to giving you prednisone. Prednisone has so many cons, okay? It has pros, but it has cons. And the cons include your blood sugar spiking, and you gain weight from it as well. So prednisone it's a steroid that is like, it's a strong steroid. So I did take that prescription because this infection, whatever, it was just horrific. It was hard. And I said, well, I'm just going to have to take this and, drink a whole lot of water, like put myself on a strict food diet, and, make sure that I'm eating like a lot of greens, a lot of just, spinach, kale, things like that, maybe juicing a little bit, and trying to clear my body of this steroid after I get better. So that was my intention, okay? But I did not get better after that. I ended up getting even more sick. And it was just a lot going on personally as well, because at the time, I also lost an aunt of mine, my dad's younger sister. And so we were, dealing with that. It was a lot going on because I was back and forth. I ended up having to go back to Dallas at another point and try to, help my cousin with just kind of getting through, just losing her mom. And it just was a lot. It was a lot going on. And all this time, I just did not feel well. And so every other thing that I had going on, I basically had to cancel, because I knew I could not travel at that point, which meant I could not get on a plane. I could travel as far as like maybe driving the 2 hour or 2.5 hours to Dallas and back, but that was about it. And actually that was pushing it as well. But I was, I also was, back and forth getting stuff done as far as my physical, other condition, that everything that was going on. And so just trying to take care of, it was just a lot coming at one time. And so, and I honestly, I don't think I really processed how much was going on at the time, but it was a lot going on at the time. I literally was, I was grieving. I was lethargic. I was just exhausted, y'all, like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I felt as though everything was coming down at one time, and I wasn't necessarily able to catch everything. It's almost like you got all these daggers, or you're playing dodgeball and you trying to dodge the ball, you know what I'm saying? But you can't dodge that thing, because that thing is like crazy. It's like, I'm making this funny now, and I'm glad that I can kind of laugh about it now. But yeah, your girl was struggling in a lot of ways, because again, I had just, I was laid off from my full-time job. My part-time job was just a chaotic mess. It had began to be a chaotic mess. I had took on a contract with them, and the guy who was over the contract was just extremely rude and crazy. And so I had to back down from that. I just had a lot of stuff going on, and I couldn't process everything. It was just too much. And during all of this, again, like I said, I was back and forth. And then I ended up, going back to Dallas for my aunt's homegoing. And so at this point, we're in April. So all of the back and forth, started, the hospital visit started in March. And again, and I was laid off from my full-time job. So for a month, I had a part of my severance package, they had, they paid for my medical for the month of March. So all of my stuff in March was, thankful to God, it was handled through that insurance. But I also had backup insurance as well too. So that was a blessing that I kept that intact. Because April hit, y'all, and it just, whoop, I thought March was crazy. No. Mm-mm. No. April, your girl was like, yeah, gone. It was gone. It was over. Like, I was just like, I'm done. I could barely walk. I literally, oh, and the one thing I did forget is that, so right before April, I had to go back to my primary care doctor. And so at that time, I walked in the office, y'all, just literally barely could walk. I was walking, my back was hunched over. I couldn't walk straight. I literally had to, and it was painful. All I remember is just being in so much pain. I just remember, like, I didn't really want to do anything. I couldn't sleep because I was in so much pain. I couldn't walk. It was one of the most painful times in my life. If I had to, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Like, I would never. So and so when that visit happened, my doctor, because I had already told this woman, I had already been on prednisone. I took prednisone earlier in March. It cleared some things, but it also caused some other things to get out of whack, which was my blood sugars, right? So when your blood sugar is out of whack, the diabetes stuff, the sugar, old folks call it the sugar, honey. So when that sugar thing get out of whack, and your immune system is trying to fight off some things, but it can't. It can't fight because it's also trying to do some other stuff. It's trying to fight, but it's a struggle, okay? So that was what it was. And it was like this thing going on. So at that time, she gave me another thing of prednisone and then put me on Mounjaro or whatever. It was like some diabetic medication that they have commercials for now. And anyway, and some people can take it, but see, the thing about diabetes and stuff is that there's so many medications. Some of these medications work well in conjunction with all these other things that you have going on, but some of them don't. So sometimes whenever it gets to that and it's not working in conjunction with the other stuff that you're taking, it can be a disaster. And that's what happened to me. It literally was a disaster. So April comes, we go, lay my aunt to rest. I'm, barely able to walk, barely able to even go into her home going service. It literally was one of the most painful situations. But I had to be there. I knew that, that was my final time of seeing her, in her body, like, even though she's, clearly not there anymore, but but it was my my last time seeing her. And so I had to be there. I just had to. I prayed about it. I was just like, this is a lot. I am, barely able to function, but I'm going to be there. And so I was there. And once that was over, I came back to the area I live in, and my mom came. She stayed with me for a week. And so when she was here, I had taken these medications. I was on this diabetic medication, then I was on prednisone. I did not take the full prednisone prescription though. I stopped taking it because I started feeling even worse. And so I had called my doctor and I was just like, we got to figure something out, a plan or whatever. And so she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you something else. You can take that, and you know, until we can get your sugar levels like under control. And I'm like, okay, they're not gonna get under control for like months. It's not gonna get under control for months though, because prednisone, once it's in your system, again, it takes it time to get out of your system. So if your sugar is already high, then it's just gonna it's gonna elevate that thing to a whole nother level. And so that's where my sugar was. It was elevated. On top of the fact that I am trying to battle this infection, this upper respiratory infection that's not fully out of my system yet, right? So those things are going on. It's just one thing on top of another thing. It was like a mountain, a molehill, you know. So people were like, what's happening? You know, what's wrong with you? And then some people were like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with Angela. Like, she just whatever. And, you know, and I was like, whatever to you too. Like, if you ain't gonna, look, I didn't have to prove nothing to nobody. I knew I was not right. I knew I was sicker than I have been, like, probably ever in my life as an adult. And so, I mean, I have been sick before. I've had upper respiratory infections. I've had COVID. I've had, you know, all types of things happen. But to the extent and to the level that it was happening, and it was happening so quickly that my mind couldn't catch up really with what was going on. So like, I think it was just tragic, and it was traumatic. And I was like, because I had never dealt with anything to that magnitude. And so, and you know, and I'm a fairly healthy person, like, for the most part. It's just, you know, so I mean, I've had my things. Like I said, I've had sinus infections, upper respiratory infections, the flu. I've had all these things, but for the most part, glory be to God, you know, I've been pretty able to manage some of these things, most of these things, to the point where I've never had to be in the hospital for anything. So, yeah, it was a difficult time. That's all. So during the time when my mom was there, bringing back to April. So April, there was an incident. I could not literally get out of the bathroom. I was stuck in my bathtub. I could not get out. And so I could not move. Y'all, I could not move. I couldn't move. I could not move I barely could move my arms. I could not move my legs. Every time I tried to move my legs, it felt like the heaviest load. It was extremely painful. My back was horrific. And my mom was there, but my mom is not in a position to where she could pick me up to get me out, right? So I had to call 911. They come, they literally get me out. They put me on a chair. Because I have stairs. So they roll me out. They carry me down the stairs. Put me on an ambulance, and I'm back in the hospital. Oh, and I also forgot. Okay, so a week prior to this happening, I did go back to the emergency room. My dad was there. He was in town. So I ended up having to go back to the emergency room, and they sent me home because but they had been talking. You know how like people, you see different people talking and they're like trying to determine like, should we keep her? Should we not? Should we keep her? Should we not? They ended up not keeping me, but I think my dad was like, I think they wanted to keep you, but a part of them was like, no, maybe she can handle it. Go back home. So I ended up going back to my primary care doctor, and they were like, okay. And so that's when they gave me some more medication and all this and that. And so then probably a week and a half later is when this whole other emergency room thing happened. So they come, they get me, put me in an ambulance. I go back to the hospital, and I am admitted. So I'm admitted to the hospital. At this point, I'm just trying to, they trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I go to the ER. At that particular point, it was high numbers of people being in the emergency rooms, and so they had me in the emergency room for like about a day and a half, like that day and then the next day, because the emergency room doctor at that time, she couldn't really figure out what was going on with me. She was just like, I don't really know what's going on. But at the time, of course, there were other people in the emergency room, and so it took her a long time to get back to me. But at that point, she had ordered for me to have a CAT scan. So they went and did a CAT scan, trying to figure out what was going on. They couldn't really see anything going on. So then, oh no, they were able to see that I had a disc or something, like bulging disc in my back, my lower left back. So that was the only thing they could see, but she said that isn't that major enough to keep me to the point where I couldn't walk or move, right? So, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, like, I'm not a doctor. So, so then anyway, they ended up ordering some more testing, and they admit me. I end up going to, they ended up putting me in a room, and yeah, from there, I just had one test after another. They ended up doing another CAT scan, didn't really figure out anything with that, and then they did an MRI, and from the MRI, it showed them what was going on more in depth, right? So then they were able to kind of figure it out. Then they scheduled for me to do a spinal tap. So then at that point, the neurologist comes in. He explains to me what is happening. He says, you have a rare condition. I'm like, okay. What does that mean? So he's like, you have a rare condition. It's not common, but it is something that we are trying to figure out more about. He said, I know this sounds kind of crazy in a sense, but he was like, yeah, we're still trying, like, people with your condition, we're trying to figure out exactly all the things that can lead to this happening, right? So I'm like, okay. So he says it's known as Guillain-Barré, but it's the longest name. It's also AIDP, which is acute. I can't even think of inflammatory, dilapidated something. Polyneuropathy. Okay, so it's like it's this long name, but they call it AIDP for short. And then Guillain, I can't even say it. Guillain-Barré. I don't know, GB. Okay, y'all, I can't even pronounce the word. Lord Jesus. But it's the longest name. And I was just like, okay. Okay, what does that mean? So then I go to look this stuff up, and then they bring me some printouts of some information about it, and so I'm reading through, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm still not really processing this stuff, because this stuff also messes with your brain. Like, it messes with your nerves from your brain all the way down to your feet. But they say it starts at your feet and works its way up. And maybe it did do that. I'm not sure. I just know I was in pain. That was all. I was in pain. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't write. I couldn't move I barely could move my leg, my feet. Like, it, I had neuropathy in my hands. I had neuropathy in my feet. I had, I couldn't lift my legs at all. Like, I couldn't walk. And when I tried to walk, I would always be like falling. And it just was horrible. I was just like, how long is this going to be the situation? So then the neurologist comes back. He's like, there's 2 forms of treatment that we can give you. He said the first one is infusions. These infusions the hope is that they will help you to be able to function. Get back to who you were before this all happened. I said, okay. But if they don't work, the second option is this. We will have to basically do some type of plasma surgery, okay? And I'm like, are you giving me a choice, or what you telling me that what we about to do? Because I need to know what's about to happen. So he said, we're gonna try number 1 first, the first option. He said, but if I don't see any positive change in you, we're going to have to do the surgery. And I'm like, I don't want surgery. I just don't. I don't want it. So I prayed, y'all. I just prayed. I said, God, I don't know why this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me at this particular time in my life? I don't. But whatever, you knew the plan before I ever made it here. So I need you to help me through this. I need you to help me, because I have no clue what to do. So they ended up doing the infusions. There were 4 infusions. And those infusions took, the last one actually took the longest. I think it was like 3 hours. The first 3 were about 1.5 hours to 2 hours each. So, the neurologist explained to me, he said, you're not going to be out of the hospital tomorrow. You're not going to be out of the hospital the next day. You're going to need to at least stay here through next week. And I'm sitting up here like, what, dude? Because mind you, I went to the emergency room on a Wednesday. So the neurologist came in on that, what is it, the Thursday? Actually, he came on a Thursday. I met him on that Thursday. But then he came back on that Friday. And that's when he explained to me that I would be in the hospital through the next week. And he said, you're not going to go straight home from there. You're going to have to go to an inpatient physical therapy, because we're going to have to get you back to doing basic living, things that I need to do, like brushing my teeth, taking a shower, doing my hair, whatever, like basic things. Okay, so I said, Lord, yeah, I said, I don't know. I just said I don't know what you want me to do. So anyway, I did these infusions over the course of the next few days. And one thing I can definitely say though, that hospital had the bomb food, y'all. I be like, hospitals, they really don't have good food. But this hospital, they had the bomb food, y'all. The food was bomb, like good. Okay, they had healthy stuff, and the healthy stuff tasted good. So I was like, I'm cool here, right? So, go through the infusions. I start to feel a little better. They don't work immediately though, like curing you just like that. They don't do that. It takes time because these infusions have to work their way through your body to basically help for this issue that I have not to still attack my nerves. So it's trying to get my immune system right, and also so it won't continue to attack my nerves. And because my nerves are so out of whack, this is why I can't walk. This is why I can't do anything, move, those types of things. So, I'm understanding more about the condition, but I'm just tired. I'm tired, y'all. So yeah, that's pretty much April. And then right after that, I ended up going from that hospital to another hospital, and I did 1 week of physical therapy inpatient. It was horrific. I did not like it at that place. I don't know why I should not have gone there. I should have just stayed in the hospital I was in until a room at another facility became vacant, because where I went, I did not like, it just wasn't as nice. And the other thing was, but then after a few days, I was like, okay, I do like the people who are doing the physical therapy. They were really good. They were really knowledgeable. And so it made everything a little bit better. But it was a rough week. Yeah, it was a rough 2 weeks. I mean, it's been a rough year. Okay, I'm just going to be there. But anyway, so it was rough. I mean, so I was like, oh, God. But a couple of my family members came there. They visited me. I was very thankful for them. And my mom and my dad, they were there the whole time. I'm very thankful for them. I'm just thankful because this, it could have went a total different way if I didn't have the support that I had, and I'm just so grateful. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a time in my life that I would never forget. Never. And hopefully, that what I've learned in all of this is that, God is everything. The bad times, or the times when we're questioning so many things, God will open some things up to you and reveal some things to you and you're able to hear what he's saying and what he wants from you. And I think this was definitely a time that I was able to have to, like, you sit with it, and you have to open yourself up to being like, okay, God, do with me what you please. this moment, in this time, and beyond, because I want to be a better version of myself so that I can serve you. And I think that's what I got in those moments. Nothing was perfect. Nothing was, you know, nothing went as planned for that I had planned. Like I said, you know, even in the beginning of talking about this, nothing went as I thought it was going to go. And you know, but I also knew, and I also know, like, God has just blessed me in my life. Like, I've been, you know, I've come through a lot of other things, and I knew that I would get through this. I just didn't know what it would look like. I also just didn't know the other side of the like the healing side of it. What was that gonna look like? And so yeah, so now I'm thankful, because I do know what the other side of the healing is looking like now, because I'm close to being what I was before, and hopefully again, you know, I'm a better version of myself in these moments and going forward. But yeah, so that was basically April. I was released from inpatient physical therapy on April the 30th. And I was released with a regular walker. Also, you know, I had to do things different. As I said before, I have stairs in my place now, and so I had to learn how to be able to get up those stairs, and it actually was a part of my physical therapy every day. And so that's what I'm really gonna leave off with. You know, from there, we'll start getting to March. No, I'm talking about March, May. May and June will be part 3, and so we'll talk about just a lot of the things I had to do for outpatient physical therapy, because at that point I was back home, but I also had to change up some things. I had to order some different things for my home so that I could be able to, you know, get around and be able to get in and out of the shower, those types of things, because I did not want to have another incident like before where I was stuck in the bathtub, y'all. Okay, but anyway, yeah, so we'll get into talking about that stuff, what I had to order, what I did, what, you know, how my parents helped me, how my therapist, outside outpatient therapy, some of those things, what that looked like. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that in part 3. But I hope that, you know, it was a lot of fumbles in this recording, and I'm going to keep it as the same. I'm not even going to edit it. I don't really care. I mean, you can have fumbles. You know, nothing is perfect. I'm not perfection around here. Nobody is. Anyway. And anybody to tell you that they are, they lying, because they just don't want to oh Lord. Anyway, don't let me get into all my soapbox. But yeah, so that's a little bit about, well, that's a lot about March and April. It was just a lot going on. And yeah, and my health journey, and this is again a part of the reason I say that it was very traumatic for me, and also for my family. You know, this affected them as well too. It didn't just happen to me, it happened to them. I mean, you know, they're having to pray and help me, and you know, I'm usually carefree, independent Angela, and I wasn't in these moments. So this is a time I had to definitely lean in on others to help me up the stairs, help me to walk, to, you know, have someone to literally lean on. So again, it just, but it also helps me to understand that God is a waymaker. God is amazing, and the fact that I'm even able to sit here and do this recording is a blessing. And so I don't ever take that for granted. And so, you know, and hopefully through me telling this story and telling a part of my story, it helps somebody else who may be going through a situation similar to mine, even more, you know, traumatic than mine, or less traumatic. I mean, there are people who, you know, are dealing with sickle cell, lupus, all these different, you know, there's other autoimmune conditions as well. And, you know, these are long-term things. And so you have to be, it causes you to be more aware, and also pay attention to your body and pay attention to what is happening around you, your environment as well. So I'm definitely more aware, more cognizant of things now, and just, you know, hopefully moving forward, yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, I just hope and pray that whatever happens is positive things and, you know, great things that come out of all of this as well. And yeah, so thank you for being a part of my journey, for watching this. If you were able to sit through the full hour of it, I hope you were, but if you had to, you know, take a break, I do understand that as well. But yeah, tell me what you think, you know, please subscribe to my channel, like, share, comment for me. I really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest, you know, week. Rest of the week, and that it is filled with joy, peace, love, and laughter. And you will see your girl soon. All right, bye.